My name is Evelyn Donovan, 30 years old, the founder of a small AI startup struggling to stand firm in a fiercely competitive tech world. That night, our family dinner at the old house in San Diego turned into a suffocating battlefield. I stood silently in the corner of the room, gripping a cold glass of water as if it were the only thing keeping me from falling apart, while my sister praised as the golden star of our family's tech empire leaned forward with a smug, condescending smile. Evelyn let me make things simple for you. Her voice was sharp enough to slice through the air. I'll buy your dying AI startup for $1. It's worthless anyway. My heart pounded. My parents, seated proudly at the head of the table, didn't miss a beat. My father's booming laughter filled the room, and my mother's disdainful look felt like a cold slap across the face. "She's right, Evelyn," my mother said icily, each word landing heavily. "You're playing in a league you'll never reach." The room suddenly felt smaller, their words like knives cutting deep into my pride, the pride of someone who had sacrificed youth strength and every last dollar to chase a dream. That startup wasn't a joke. It was my hope and my belief. I wanted to scream, to flip the table in anger, but instead I placed the glass down with a deliberate cold clink. Every pair of eyes followed me as I walked toward the door. My silence louder than any insult. "Good night," I said, my voice calm but burning with fire inside. They thought they had won, that I would crumble. But as the door closed behind me, I knew this tomorrow I would turn their arrogant victory into dust. They had no idea the storm that was coming. If you were me at that dinner, how would you react? Share your thoughts in the comments. In my Chicago office, I stared at a flickering screen. The hum of my laptop filled the small, cluttered space a world away from the San Diego dining room I'd walked out of days ago. Years back, I left my family's tech giant Donovan Solutions to chase my own path. I'd spent my 20s coding alongside my sister Tara Ford under the constant scrutiny of my parents. They always saw Tara as their pride, the one meant to carry their legacy. I felt like a ghost in that company. My ideas dismissed, my voice ignored. So I broke free, pouring everything into my AI app, a tool to streamline business operations. It was my chance to prove I didn't need their approval. Now that chance was slipping away. My startup was bleeding money, with server costs draining my savings faster than I could keep up. Big tech firms were relentless, undercutting my prices and luring away clients. My parents never offered a shred of support. "You're wasting your potential," my father once said, his words sharp as a blade. I shook off the memory, scrolling through a spreadsheet of shrinking numbers. My phone buzzed with a call from Horizon Analytics, my biggest client. I answered, hoping for a lifeline. "Evelyn, we're pulling our contract." Their CEO said, his voice clipped. "It's just business." The line went dead and my breath caught. Losing Horizon could end me. I replayed his words, catching a hint of unease in his tone. He sounded forced, like someone was pulling strings. My mind went to Tara. She runs Donovan Solutions, a direct rival, and has the industry clout to sway decisions. Could she have leaned on Horizon? The suspicion clawed at me, fueling a quiet rage. I opened a desk drawer, sifting through old files from my time at Donovan Solutions. My fingers found a worn notebook, its pages packed with my early AI designs. One section stopped me cold, a contingency plan for shielding intellectual property during a takeover. It listed steps to secure my code and assets, a safeguard I'd overlooked. My pulse surged. This could be my way out. I leaned back, my thoughts racing. Confronting Tara without proof would be reckless, and I couldn't risk her catching wind of my plans. Even Rachel Bell, my trusted assistant, didn't know how bad things were. I valued her, but this battle was mine to fight. I needed to move in silence, outsmart my sister before she could strike again. My phone lit up, breaking my focus. A text from my uncle Daniel Carter flashed across the screen. "You're tougher than they know. Keep pushing." His words hit like a spark, steadying me. I hadn't spoken to Uncle Daniel since that awful dinner, but his faith was enough to keep me going. I saved the text, my fingers tracing the notebook's pages. This was my blueprint, and I was ready to fight. A week had passed since I found that old notebook, its contingency plan fueling my resolve to protect my startup. My suspicions about Tara were growing, and I couldn't shake the feeling that she was behind Horizon's sudden exit. I opened my inbox expecting routine updates, but a new email from a smaller client, Nexus Solutions, stopped me cold. Their CEO wrote, "Evelyn, we're reconsidering our contract. Someone from your family's company suggested we'd be better off with them." My blood ran cold. Tara. She wasn't just competing, she was sabotaging me. I dove into my email logs, my fingers flying over the keyboard. If Tara was meddling, there had to be a trace. Hours later, I found an email sent to Nexus from my startup's domain urging them to drop me for Donovan Solutions. The wording was polished professional, but it wasn't mine. I cross-checked the metadata and my heart sank. The email originated from an IP address tied to Donovan Solutions. Tara had forged it using my own company's name to undermine me. The betrayal stung, but it was the proof I needed. She wasn't just mocking me, she was trying to destroy everything I'd built. I needed advice, someone who knew the industry and Tara's tactics. I reached out to Matthew Grant, a seasoned entrepreneur who'd worked with my family's company years ago. I sent him a message summarizing the forged email and my suspicions. Within an hour, my phone rang. "Evelyn, this is serious." Matthew said, his voice calm but firm. "Tara's playing dirty, but you can protect yourself. There's a legal clause you can use: restructure your startup into a new entity. It'll shield your assets from any takeover." His words were a lifeline. He explained how to transfer my intellectual property and contracts to a new LLC, making it untouchable. I scribbled notes, my mind racing with possibilities. The next morning, I got to work. I contacted my lawyer, laying out Matthew's plan. We began drafting documents to create a new entity, quietly moving my AI app's code, client contracts, and remaining funds. I kept it from my team. Even Rachel, my assistant, didn't know. I trusted her, but one leak could tip Tara off, and I wasn't taking chances. The process was grueling, with endless paperwork and late-night calls to ensure every detail was airtight. I barely slept, driven by the thought of Tara's smug face at that dinner, thinking she'd won. She had no idea I was building a fortress around my dream. My phone buzzed with a voicemail, interrupting my focus. It was from my Aunt Janet Stone, her voice dripping with disapproval. "Evelyn, you're tearing this family apart with your stubbornness. Sell the company and come back to us." I deleted it without a second thought. Aunt Janet always sided with my parents, and her words were just noise. I had Matthew's plan, a forged email as evidence, and a new entity taking shape. Tara's move had backfired. She'd given me the ammunition to fight back. I saved the email's metadata to a secure drive, ready to use it when the time was right. 2 weeks after uncovering Tara's forged email, I was deep into fortifying my startup. The memory of her sabotage fueled every move I made. I spent days on the phone with my lawyer, hammering out the final details of the new LLC. We transferred my AI app's code, client contracts, and remaining funds to the new entity, ensuring it was untouchable by Donovan Solutions. Every clause was triple-checked, every asset locked down. I could almost hear Tara's smug voice from that dinner, but I pushed it aside. My startup wasn't just a business, it was my fight, and I wasn't losing. I turned my attention to my client list. Some partners had been acting cagey since Horizon pulled out their responses, vague or delayed. I didn't trust them anymore. I sent termination notices to 3 unreliable firms, cutting ties before they could jump ship. In their place, I reached out to smaller companies, startups like mine, hungry for innovation. By the end of the week, I'd signed 2 new contracts with local firms, their CEOs eager for my AI's efficiency. It wasn't enough to erase the financial strain, but it was a start. Each signature felt like a brick in the wall I was building against Tara. Then came a surprise. My assistant Rachel patched through a call from Emily Chen, a venture capitalist I'd never met. I heard about your AI at a Chicago tech meetup. Emily said, her voice sharp and curious. Can we meet? I agreed, and we met at a coffee shop downtown. Emily was direct, asking about my app's scalability and market edge. I laid out my vision, careful not to mention Tara's interference. By the end, she offered a tentative investment enough to keep my servers running for months. I walked away with her business card and a spark of hope. This could change everything. Back at the office, I dug through old client emails, still hunting for clues about Tara's reach. A message from a former client, Apex Dynamics, caught my eye. Their CTO wrote, "We stopped working with you after an email from your company warned us about financial instability." It didn't feel right. My stomach twisted. Another fake email, just like Nexus. I traced its metadata, and sure enough, it linked back to Donovan Solutions. Tara wasn't just targeting big clients, she was systematically dismantling my reputation. I saved the evidence alongside the Nexus email, my arsenal growing. With the San Francisco Tech Conference looming, I started drafting my presentation. I wanted to showcase my AI's potential and expose Tara's tactics without sounding petty. Rachel helped refine my slides, organizing data charts and client testimonials. Her efficiency kept me grounded, but I kept her in the dark about the emails. This was my battle, and I needed to control the narrative. Late at night, I rehearsed my speech, imagining Tara's face when I turned her game against her. Then I saw a post on X from Donovan Solutions boasting about Tara's unstoppable leadership and their latest deal. The comments were full of praise, calling her a visionary. My jaw clenched. She was parading her success while trying to bury mine. That post wasn't just a taunt, it was a reminder of why I had to win. I saved a screenshot, channeling my anger into focus. My speech was ready, my evidence was solid, and Emily's offer was a lifeline. Tara thought she had me cornered, but I was building my counterattack one step at a time. A week after finalizing my startup's new LLC, I was prepping for the San Francisco conference when the door swung open. Tara stormed in, followed by my parents, William Donovan and Karen Donovan, their faces set with smug confidence. Tara crossed her arms, her eyes glinting. "Evelyn, it's over," she said, her voice sharp. "Sell your startup to Donovan Solutions now, or we'll crush it." William nodded, his tone commanding. "This is your last chance to do the right thing." Karen added, "You're embarrassing the family with this failing venture." Their words were a calculated jab, but I was ready. I leaned back in my chair, meeting Tara's gaze. "I've restructured my company," I said, my voice steady. "All assets, code, contracts. Everything are in a new LLC, your takeover plan. It'll get you nothing but my old debts." Tara's face twisted, her composure cracking. "You're sabotaging our family," she snapped, stepping closer. "You think you can outsmart us?" I didn't flinch. "I'm protecting what's mine," I replied. "You started this, Tara, with your fake emails." Her eyes widened, but she didn't deny it. I'd struck a nerve. William's voice boomed. "We'll drag you through court, Evelyn." "You can't win." Karen smirked, folding her arms. "You're out of your depth." I pressed a button on my desk phone, and my lawyer, Sarah Mitchell, joined via speaker. "Everything Evelyn did is legal," Sarah said, her tone crisp. "The new LLC is airtight, and we have evidence of Tara's forged emails. Any lawsuit will backfire." William's jaw tightened, and Karen's smirk faded. They hadn't expected me to be this prepared. Tara's voice turned venomous. "You'll regret this, Evelyn," she hissed, pointing a finger at me. "I'll make sure of it." I stood, meeting her glare. "Try it," I said, my heart pounding but my resolve unbroken. "I'm not the one running scared." Tara spun on her heel, storming out with William and Karen trailing behind. The door slammed, but their threats didn't shake me. I'd spent months building my defenses, and they'd walked right into my trap. As their footsteps faded, Rachel poked her head, in a rare smile on her face. "Just got confirmation," she said, holding up a tablet. We signed a new contract with Vertex Tech. They love our AI's latest update. My shoulders relaxed for the first time that day. Vertex was a small but growing firm, and their deal strengthened my startup's foundation. I nodded at Rachel. "Good work," I said. She left, and I sat back staring at the door. Tara thought she could intimidate me, but I was done bending. My company was stronger than ever, and I was just getting started. A few days after facing Tara's threats in my office, I stood backstage, my heart racing as I prepared to take the stage. The tech conference was packed with industry leaders, and my AI app was my chance to shine. I adjusted my earpiece, glancing at the slides Rachel had helped me polish. The room dimmed, and I stepped into the spotlight, launching into my presentation. I explained how my AI streamlined operations, cutting costs for small businesses. The audience leaned forward, and I caught the eye of Laura Bennett, a prominent investor, nodding in approval. My confidence surged. This was my moment. Halfway through, I shifted gears. "Innovation thrives on integrity," I said, my voice clear. "But some will sabotage it." I clicked to a slide showing metadata from Tara's forged emails sent from my startup's domain to Nexus and Apex. The screen displayed the evidence: IP addresses tied to Donovan Solutions, timestamps, and client testimonies confirming the manipulation. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I didn't name Tara yet, letting the proof speak. "This is what we're up against," I said. "But my company stands stronger for it." The room erupted in applause, and Laura's gaze sharpened with interest. Then Matthew stepped up unprompted. "I've seen this before," he said, taking the mic. "Years ago, Tara Ford pressured my firm to ditch a deal, claiming Donovan Solutions was untouchable. She's done it again." His words hit like a thunderbolt, backing my claims with his credibility. The audience shifted their mood, turning skeptical toward Donovan Solutions. I advanced the slides showing my old notebook's contingency plan and signed affidavits from former clients. Each piece was a nail in Tara's reputation, carefully placed to expose her without sounding vindictive. Tara, seated near the front, shot to her feet. "This is slander," she shouted. Her face flushed. "Evelyn's twisting the truth to save her failing startup." Her voice cracked, betraying her panic. I stayed calm. "The evidence is public," I replied, gesturing to the screen. "Check the metadata yourself." The crowd's murmurs grew louder, and heads turned away from Tara. A tech journalist in the front row typed furiously, and Laura shook her head, unimpressed by Tara's outburst. The room's energy had shifted. Her credibility was crumbling before my eyes. As my presentation ended, Laura approached me backstage. "I'm out of Donovan Solutions," she said, her tone firm. "Their ethics are a liability. I want to talk about funding your AI." My pulse quickened. This was a game changer. Laura's firm was a major backer of my parents' company, and her withdrawal would hit them hard. I thanked her, keeping my composure, but inside I was elated. Tara's schemes had cost her not just face, but a critical investor, leaving Donovan Solutions vulnerable. I left the stage, my steps lighter than they'd been in months. Tara's glare followed me, but the crowd's support drowned her out. My app was the talk of the conference, and Laura's interest was a lifeline. Donovan Solutions was reeling, and I'd landed the blow that started it. This wasn't just a win, it was Tara's downfall, and I'd built it brick by brick. A week after exposing Tara's schemes in San Francisco, I was back in my Chicago office watching the fallout unfold. Donovan Solutions was reeling. Reports confirmed they'd lost a major contract with a global retailer, their stock plummeting as investors fled. The industry whispered about their tarnished ethics, and bankruptcy rumors swirled. I didn't gloat, but the weight of their collapse felt like vindication. My startup, on the other hand, was gaining traction, and I was determined to keep pushing forward. My inbox pinged with a new email from William and Karen, my parents. Their words were venomous. "Evelyn, you've betrayed this family. Your stunt at the conference has ruined us. Stop this madness and sell your company." The accusations stung, branding me a traitor for defending my work. I stared at the screen, their words echoing the dinner where they'd mocked me. But I wasn't that person anymore. I archived the email, refusing to let their guilt trip derail me. Rachel knocked on my door, her expression soft. "You okay?" she asked, sensing my mood. I admitted the email had shaken me, leaving me feeling isolated. She sat across from me, her voice steady. "You're not alone, Evelyn. What you did took guts. I'm proud to work for you." Her words were a lifeline, easing the loneliness that had crept in. For the first time, I saw Rachel not just as my assistant but as a true ally. I thanked her, my resolve strengthening. I couldn't afford to dwell on my parents' anger. Later that day, my phone rang. It was Uncle Daniel, his voice warm with pride. "Evelyn, I saw the conference coverage," he said. "You stood up to them and won. I always knew you had it in you." His praise hit me harder than I expected, a reminder of the support I still had. "Keep going," he urged. "You're building something real." I hung up, my determination cemented. Uncle Daniel's call was the push I needed to stay focused no matter what my family threw at me. A tech magazine article dropped that afternoon titled "Evelyn Donovan's AI Revolution." It praised my app's innovation and my courage in calling out corporate sabotage. The piece went viral on X, and by evening, 3 new clients had reached out, eager to sign on. Their interest was a direct result of the article, proof that my gamble at the conference was paying off. I forwarded the inquiries to Rachel, who was already scheduling calls. My startup wasn't just surviving, it was thriving, and the momentum felt unstoppable. My phone buzzed again, this time with a text from Aunt Janet. "You're selfish, Evelyn. You've destroyed your family's legacy." Her words were sharp, but I'd heard them before. I deleted the message, refusing to engage. Aunt Janet's loyalty to my parents didn't surprise me, but it no longer mattered. My focus was on my company, my clients, and the future I was building. The family I'd once clung to was fading, and I was ready to let them go. A few weeks after the tech blogs lit up with news of my conference triumph, I stood in my office watching the city settle into dusk. Donovan Solutions had officially filed for bankruptcy. Its collapse splashed across headlines. Tara, William, and Karen were drowning in financial ruin, their empire reduced to ashes. I felt no joy in their downfall, only a quiet relief that their grip on me was gone. My startup, though, was soaring, and I was ready to leave the past behind. I blocked their numbers and emails, severing all ties with my family. No more accusations, no more guilt trips. My parents' words once cut deep, but now they were just echoes of a life I'd outgrown. My focus was on my company, every line of code, every client call, every late night spent refining my AI. I wasn't just surviving, I was building something unstoppable, and I'd never let their shadows pull me back. A new investor, David Nguyen, reached out after reading about my AI's success. "Your app's potential is massive," he said during our call, his enthusiasm infectious. By the end of the week, he'd committed a significant sum, enough to expand my team and scale operations. The deal marked a turning point. My startup wasn't just recovering. It was thriving, with new clients lining up and my app gaining traction across industries. Each contract signed felt like a step toward a future I'd fought for alone. My phone buzzed with a text from Tara, her name flashing like a warning. I didn't open it, deleting it unread. Her threats couldn't touch me anymore. I'd seen her true colors, her forged emails, her attempts to sabotage me, and I was done letting her poison my peace. I leaned back in my chair, the weight of her message gone as quickly as I'd erased it. My strength wasn't in fighting her. It was in choosing to move forward. I met Matthew for coffee later that day. He'd been a steady voice through this storm, and as we talked, I realized how much his support meant. "You didn't just save your company," he said, stirring his drink. "You showed everyone what you're made of." His words sank in, reminding me of Rachel's encouragement, Uncle Daniel's pride. These were the people who mattered, the ones who saw my vision and stood by me. I thanked Matthew, feeling a clarity I hadn't before. My real family was the one I'd chosen. Looking back, I learned something vital. Letting go of toxic ties, family or not, wasn't weakness. It was survival. My strength came from believing in myself even when everyone else doubted me. I poured everything into my dream, and it carried me further than I'd ever imagined. To everyone watching this journey unfold, thank you for sticking with me. Your support means the world. Drop a comment below, share your thoughts, your own stories of breaking free. Let's keep this conversation going.